US meeting, Africa, Europe, Africa, Turkey, Africa,
India.
Now we are waiting for, there is another one, Africa, Russia.
And Africa, Japan.
And Africa, Japan. We have made the decision that it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place. And I mean, and sometimes we are mistreated.
Yeah.
You know, we are loaded into buses like school kids. You know, and it's not right.
Well, you are summoned. You know,
it's not right. So the decision that we have made as AU is that going forward, if there is going to be a discussion between Africa and any other country, we are going to be represented by the chair, the outgoing chair, the bureau.
Chair of the commission,
and,
or the chair,
and the chair of the Rex, and we have 5 Rex. That should be sufficient for, I mean, a meeting of maybe 6, 7. Yeah. That should be able to represent Africa, and that is the position I am taking as the president of Kenya. For any other meeting that we
US Africa Summit, China Africa Summit, India Africa Summit, Pakistan Africa Summit, Japan Africa Summit, Russia Africa Summit. Even if the president of Afghanistan called for Afghanistan Africa Summit, African leaders will still go. Even if the president of North Korea called North Korea Africa Summit, African leaders will still go. If he promised he's going to help them solve their problem, African leaders will still go. That was the president of Kenya speaking, President Ruto. And then he was saying, like, they are sick and tired of attending summit. Any gentleman sits somewhere and call them 54 leaders in Africa. He said it's not intelligent, it's not wise, it's disrespectful for them, 54 leaders. Somebody would just sit somewhere and call them Britain Africa Summit, France Africa Summit, and they will all run there. The reality is that there have been many Africa Summit countries, summit between Africa and different countries, and yet we are still facing the same problems. So it should tell us that the solution to African problems is by we, the Africans. We have the key to the solutions of our problems, even though the problems are not being caused by us. The same problem are caused by those people who are calling us for the summit. And then do you think that they're ever going to help us solve the problem? No, they're never going to help us solve the problem. So when the president of Kenya, when he gave this speech, we were all happy. We were so happy. We said, finally, that day has come, that we want to regain back our dignity and our respect as African people. When he gave this speech, we were all happy. But unfortunately, we are just in the second month of the year, 2014. He gave this speech in 2023, and then we are in 2024, and then the second month of 2024, and then Italy Africa Summit, and then he attended it. And there was a backlash. A lot of people go hard at him. But yes, it's understandable. We have the right to be angry when our leaders came out and talk like this and do the letter. We have the right to blame them. We have the right to be angry with them. But let us be cautious. Let us be a little bit cautious when we are being angry and then calling them all manner of names. Yes, because for me, I don't judge stuff or things based on emotions. I sit back and I watch it very well and I analyze it. So I don't really blame him, to be honest, even though I am not happy that we haven't really gotten to that day or to that level that no leader can sit somewhere and call us Africa, 54 states in Africa, and call us a meeting or summit, and then we'll go. I am not happy that we're still attending this summit. I wish it will end today so that nobody can call African leaders. But when they go, I don't blame them. And I'll tell you why I don't blame them. I will tell you why I don't blame the president of Kenya, President Ruto. I want us to go and watch this interview by former president of Ghana. The former president of Ghana granted an interview. He granted this interview, and then if you watch the interview, his facial expression, the anger in him, and then you will now understand as to why I said, Bia Anzansi said, I don't blame the president of Kenya for attending those meetings. Please let us watch the video. Take time out of your busy schedules. Let us watch the video by former president of Ghana, and then come back, analyze it, and then you will understand me what I'm saying.
Africa finds herself in a catch-22 situation, you see. She better watch what she says here and there, or else you don't get that aid or that assistance, etc., etc. What kind of blackmail is this? But this is another fact of the things you people don't know and don't see. And it's a painful thing for me sitting here to have to be making such admissions. But these are some of the truths, the hard facts, my dear. You know?
So yes, that was the former president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings. He was talking about how the IMF, they are white-mailing African leaders, the so-called third country leaders. How the IMF, the World Bank, they are twisting the arm of African leaders, white-mailing them. He used the word blackmail, but I am saying they are white-mailing African leaders because these are devils. They are white-mailing African leaders into signing into deals. If you don't do it, we'll destroy your country. If you don't do it, we'll destroy your economy. We'll make your government unpopular, and they have the power to do that. So if you watch the former president of Ghana, look at the anger. You can see the anger because he knows the right thing. He knows what his people deserve. He knows what he wants for his people, but he cannot do it because they want him to stop talking. You hear him. He said they warn him, they tell him to stop talking. The IMF, the World Bank told him to stop talking. If he doesn't stop talking, this is what they're going to do to him. And they have the power to do that. That is the reason why we keep calling on African youth to stand up and fight for the unification of Africa. Because the only way we can bring an end to this manipulation and white-mailing of our leaders is by uniting the continent of Africa. That is why we are here, One Africa Mission. And if you watch the former president of Ghana talking like this, then you can't understand why President Ruto is no more talking today and he's attending this summit. Not that he didn't meant what he said when he said he want to stop attending those summits. He was serious about it when he first took power. When he first took over power, he was angry to work for his people. He has the youthful exuberance. He was angry for work. He was more than ready, determined to bring a change, not only to Kenya, but to the continent of Africa. But just as they warned the president of Ghana, the same thing that they did to him. And not only did they warn him by action. You could see that when he was talking, that they wanted to stop all those kind of stuff, and they wanted to even stop using the American dollar to be trading among Africa. He advised that African leaders should stop using the American dollar to trade among themselves. He said it. He said, we are Africans. We can use our own currency to trade among ourselves. Why should we use the American dollar? When he said that, that was when they started having demonstrations in Kenya. When he touched the American dollar, they started having demonstrations in Kenya. Because the reality is that in Africa, we have not been able to deal with traitors in Africa. And I am not referring to Kenya. I am not talking about just Kenya, but the entire continent of Africa. Because there is always going to be somebody sitting somewhere who is more than ready to compromise with the Western world to bring down your government. How come all of a sudden they were calling for demonstrations or boycotting stuff in Kenya, demonstrations everywhere, because the president of Kenya was ready to work for the people of Kenya. And now that he's no more talking, all of a sudden, there's no more hardship in Kenya. The people of Kenya are no more demonstrating. Why? So until we, the citizens of Africa, until we are ready to stand behind our leaders, the leaders who want to fight or who want to work for us, there will always be we will always have this kind of problems. Our leaders will know the right thing. They will know what to do, but they cannot do it. Just as I said, look at Kenya. All of a sudden, There were demonstrations everywhere because Ruto said they should drop the American dollar and use our own currency to trade among ourselves. They warned him by action. They started instigating demonstrations and they told him, we will bring down your government. We will make your government unpopular to the extent that the people of Kenya will rise against you if you don't stop talking. And now that he's shut up, he's coiled back to his shell, he's no more talking. Does it mean that Kenya has now become paradise, that the people of Kenya doesn't want to demonstrate again? We should stop. We should not let the colonizers, the colonial criminals continue to manipulate us, instigate us against our leaders. You know, they always use us against leaders who are ready to work for us. It didn't start today. And our leaders too, they are also human beings. They also have families. They also have feelings. And they can see other leaders who stood for their people, what happened to them. The likes of Kwame Nkrumah, the likes of Patrice Lumumba, their own people, some Thomas Sankara, their own people betrayed them. So it was the same betrayal that was going to happen in Kenya. All of a sudden, the entire, whoever, they started demonstrating, calling for demonstration. People should come out and then we too, because we are frustrated, we will not sit back and analyze stuff. We will just rush in. Emotions, we allow our emotions to carry us. And then when we do these demonstrations and bring down the good government, and then the bad ones will take over. So yes, Ruto might have said something and he's doing something different, but I don't blame him, as I said, because when he was talking, when he first took power, he was more than ready to work for his people. He had the energy, the willingness. And my advice to them, to our leaders who want to work for their people, please, the talking is just too much. Sometimes when you have plans to do some certain things, do not talk. You have to keep it secret. If the Russians were going to be talking like that, I'm telling you, Russia will not have gotten to where it is today. If the Chinese were going to be talking like this, China will not reach where it is today. They keep quiet and they work until they stood firmly before they came out to talk. That time you cannot do anything to them. But we haven't reached that level yet. So if we have plans to uplift Africa, then we must be a bit quiet sometimes. I can see that, I can see the sincerity in Ruto's face when he first took over. But he's a human being. And then we all saw how they were instigating his people against him. And I asked a question. So does it mean that today that he stopped talking, does it mean that Kenya has become paradise? No. He stopped talking, he now compromised, and Kenya is calm. If he was still talking by now, his government would have been out. His government was young. It was very young government. And then he was talking, he was ready to work for his people. And what happened? So yes, when they attend these meetings, or when they attend this summit, I don't blame them. Until Africa is united, until we are powerful enough to defend our sovereignty, our leaders will continue to attend these meetings. That is why we are calling on African youth to stand up and fight for the unification of Africa. That is the only way we can have our dignity. It isn't that our leaders doesn't know the right thing to do, but they don't have the power to do. Their arms have been twisted. We are the only people who can help them to work for our interests. They want to work for the interests of Africa. Many of them want to work for the interests of Africa, but they cannot because there will always be somebody out there or behind there who is an African, who is more than ready to betray his own people just to get into power. We have seen it everywhere, almost in every African country. Any leader who is ready to work for his people will always be betrayed by his own people. Until we put a serious penalty on those traitors, people who are ready to sell Africa for a penny, for a peanut, until we put a serious penalty on them, we are going nowhere. Please, I thank you very much for coming around. I am your missionary brother, Brother Dobia Anzansi. Please, if you appreciate what we are doing, we are young Africans. We are on a mission, and our mission is to bring back the dignity of the African race. How do we get back our dignity? Is by uniting the continent of Africa. That is, with unity, we will get back our dignity. That is the only way we can stop all this our African leaders being called by Afghanistan, North Korea, everybody sit down and call them for Africa Summit, which has nothing good for Africa. Please, if you appreciate what we're doing, please share our content, pass your comments, let us know your opinions. Your opinions matter a lot for us. Let us know your opinions. Together we can make Africa great and better. Thank you very much for coming around.